Hi there and welcome along to this 10-minute beginner's row along. Now, I've been making these row along videos for quite some time now. I've made around about 200 of them, and it dawned on me that I don't have any videos for like the new rower, for someone that's just wandered into the gym, sat down on the rowing machine and like, what am I going to do now? Okay, so I'm going to make a series of these ranging from 10 minutes up to around about 30 minutes long, which will hopefully get you used to a little bit of rowing and get you kind of into the right positions, have a little bit of think about technique, get you a little bit fitter so you're then happy to be rowing on your own, or to then start looking at my row along videos. Okay, so without further ado, let's get going. Okay, so there's three things that you need to look at before you start rowing on a rowing machine. The first of which is the resistance or the weight of the machine. Now in a Concept 2, that's controlled by this lever on the side, and that affects something called drag factor. Don't worry about it. If you don't know about drag factor, just check out the video I have on the YouTube channel, learn a little bit about it. But ideally what it is that you set it to a point where it feels comfortable to row, and it's not like you're trying to row a cruise ship down the river, okay? Now if you're on a magnetic rower or something like that, and the same kind of goes, just set it somewhere where it feels comfortable, it doesn't feel too heavy, and you'd think, okay, I'm going to be able to row for around about 10 minutes on this. Next up, if you have a monitor that you can adjust the height of, make sure and put it at eye height. You don't really want to be looking down because that's going to cause you to slouch. You don't want to be looking up because that's going to cause you to be leaning back the whole time, okay? And then finally, if you have adjustable foot straps, then just set them to a height where you're able to come forward enough to the front of the stroke where your shins will get round about a vertical position and you don't feel like they're completely binding up your feet, okay? So get yourself all strapped in, all nice and happy. We're just going to do 10 minutes today, and it's going to be a full straight 10 minutes, and we're going to just go up and down through stroke rates and a little bit of intensity. Now we're going to start at 24 strokes a minute. Just follow along with me. So when I take a stroke, you take a stroke, and I'll just talk you a little bit through technique as we go, and then I'll tell you what we're going to be doing in today's row as we go through it, okay? So here we go then. So 24 strokes a minute, a nice easy pressure in 3, 2, 1, go. So we're using this just as a warm-up for the time being. So I just really need you to be connecting with your legs and your arms. The point of the rowing stroke being that it's both legs and arms, okay? So you push out from the front with your legs, and then you finish with a pull with your arms. So you may be accustomed to thinking that rowing is more about always pulling, but it's not. It's about pushing from the front of the machine with your legs, finish with your arms. And that way you can feel your whole body is being used when you're rowing, rather than just one part of it. So if you were just using your arms all the time, you'd come off with nice jelly arms, but your legs would be fine. Whereas this way, your whole body will get a good workout, even in this 10 minutes that we're doing today. So continue just to put in a little bit of pressure so your breathing is just getting a little bit harder, your heart rate goes up, and then as we get to the end of this first 2-minute chunk, we're going to slow down our stroke rate to 20 strokes a minute. Now hopefully you have a reading in front of you that tells you your stroke rate, but if you don't, that's fine. You can just continue to row along watching me just take a stroke when I do. So in 3, 2, 1, let's just slow down that stroke rate. Now I want you to think about still putting in the same amount of push and pull to the machine as you were before, but because you're rowing at 4 strokes a minute slower, naturally you'll have fallen off the pace by around about 4 or 5 seconds. And that's an important part of certainly how I teach rowing, is that your stroke rate is a big controlling point when it comes to your speed. So it's not all about pushing hard with the legs and pulling harder with the arms. It's that and the stroke rate that you're rowing at. Okay, I've got another minute of this. And at the end of this minute, we're going to go back up to 24 strokes a minute. And now that we're 3 and a bit minutes into this, we can just talk a bit about technique through the next little chunk. Start to think a little bit about how you're rowing. Now, I've mentioned that the stroke is about a push from the legs and then a pull with the arms at the back. And that's one of the most important things when it comes to the rowing stroke. But the other is about your posture as you're rowing. I'll cover that next as we get into the 24 strokes a minute chunk in 2, 1. So here we go back up to 24 again. So again, you're effectively putting in the same amount of pressure from your legs and arms, slightly more in order to be able to speed up your stroke rate, but it shouldn't feel like you're really having to gun it to get there. But just because you're going slightly faster for a stroke rate, your pace, if you can see that on the monitor in front of you, should have increased by 3 or 4 seconds maybe. Now, I mentioned posture. One of the most key points when it comes to rowing is that you lean forwards into the front of the machine and then you lean back at the back of the stroke. So you're always doing this lean from forwards to backwards, forwards, backwards. Now there's lots of finer points about how to make sure your posture is braced, ready for the power to come through from your legs, etc. But we've only got 10 minutes together today, so I'm going to give you a very brief overview of the stroke. Then hopefully you'll join me in the 15-minute row where I'll talk about it in a bit more detail. But it's just that forward lean, backward lean, forward lean, backward lean. Okay, in 4 strokes time, we're going to go faster up to 28 strokes a minute. Again, just follow me. 1 more stroke. Here we go. So now we speed up our stroke rate. Try and keep up with the stroke rate. If you can't, don't worry. Often the reason you can't get up this higher stroke rate is because you're not recovering quick enough. So get that handle in, then straight back out again over your knees before you slide forwards into the front of the machine again. So hands over knees, bend. Hands, knees. And that really will, if you think about getting those arms away over your knees before you bend them, that, along with a good, powerful push of your legs in order to have a slightly faster drive to the back of the machine, that'll help you get up to 28 strokes a minute. And then the final thing to say before we hit the next and final 2-minute chunk is to make sure as you're taking this drive, the leg push, keep your arms straight, okay? So don't pull too early, keep them straight, and only pull at the back of the stroke. Okay, 5, 4, and we're going back down to 24 again. Last one here. Here we go. 24 strokes a minute. Ease that power again. You should have hopefully found that every time you returned to 24 strokes a minute today, you're around about the same pace, because you're starting to work out that stroke rate with the same amount of leg pressure means that you return to that same kind of status each time. So that's the important thing to take away from today's beginner row, is firstly that you managed to row 10 minutes non-stop, then that you're able to adjust your stroke rate by adding a little bit of power or reducing that power. You're able to keep that stroke rate up by getting the handle over your knees nice and quick, and you're doing that forward lean to backward lean, forward, backward, and driving out at the front with nice straight arms. So hopefully that's a good 10-minute workout for you. You feel your heart rate's up, maybe got a little sweat on, ready to move on to another piece of equipment in the gym or at home. 2 more strokes. Last one. Or maybe you just want to jump onto the 15-minute row next. It's entirely up to you. But hopefully that was a good 10-minute beginner row for you. Hopefully you learned a few things about your technique, and hopefully you enjoyed that and got a good workout from it. So anyway, thank you so much for coming along and doing this 10-minute beginner row along. I will see you in the next one. Do be sure to check out some of the other videos I have on this YouTube channel. But for the time being, stay safe, be well, bye-bye.